Don't know.
Don't know. PRN. And she just did orientation, so I mean they don't have a schedule or anything.
I'll find out what time they're planning on leaving. Jody's she's not going to school on Friday, so
Just need to know like
when to
within
get the house clean.
an hour-ish or so. No, like oh they'll be there anywhere between like 2 and 3:30. Be like, oh okay, cool.
I can do that.
It's not like I need a exact time. Oh, so crazy story. So we needed a printer for our house. We decided we're gonna be those people and actually own a printer now.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Best Buy to buy a printer here in Longview, Texas. Apparently, there's like some sort of crazy printer shortage. They had zero printers
Really?
to sell. I went to Office Max. I bought the last top loading printer that they had. All the other
Wow.
ones were sold out, or they were like $600 plus. I mean, it was kind of crazy. So,
Printer. Who would have known a printer shortage?
who would have known? Is that boring? That's kind of a boring story, I guess. Real.
So I don't know. I have not figured out the algorithm for Instagram Reels. Right.
Okay.
I put a reel on there for on the Behind the Beards Instagram
Mhm.
page. If you don't follow it and you are watching, you should be following.
Should
Um,
be.
I've this is about the fifth reel I've put on there. They get, oh, I think our first one got like 65 plays. The second one was like 100 and something. The third one was 100 and something. Um, I posted this reel yesterday, and it was just a hey, it's Monday. Tomorrow's a podcast. We're going to talk about when fun turns to chaos. Come see. And I was talking. I posted it. Jonathan called, so I answered the phone. 15 minutes into the phone call, I got an alert that said your reel has 500 views. And then like 15 minutes later, it was up to like 1,100. And this was at 11 o'clock yesterday. And in the span of 30 minutes, it had over 1,000 views. And then
Wow. We went
I,
viral.
I like just checked it that evening, and it was all the way up to 1,164. So I don't know. I can't figure it out. How does that, do something that fast and then, oh, okay, we're going to stop putting this out in front of people for the rest of the day. Uh, anyway, I just thought that was interesting, especially after what we talked about last week with analytics and stuff. I can't figure it out.
I mean, it was kind of an interesting story, but not like a great story.
I'm not looking for greatness until the countdown hits 0. So,
I watched this podcast the other day on storytelling. It was pretty good.
no, it was good. Uh, we like storytelling. Everybody likes to tell a good story, right?
Mm. So my uncle actually has his master's in storytelling from Harding. I think it's from Harding.
Really? That's kind of cool.
He's a master storyteller.
Jonathan presumes that your printer shortage is because printers have fax and scan features. So because of all the virtual work,
I don't
they're in
know.
short supply.
You think it's kind of late in the game for virtual COVID stuff to still be hitting hard?
No, it's because all the stuff they bought a year ago was junk, and now it's all failing, so they're having to replace it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or maybe it's tax season, so everybody wants a scanner faxing kind of a machine.
Dude, the used car market is insane because of tax season and then all the stimulus money that people are getting promised.
Mm.
I went out to buy. Jody needs a new car because
There it is, East Tennessee State.
Uh, Jody's little Nissan's kind of on its last legs. So we're having to replace it. The car I could buy for $3,000 6 months ago is now 6+.
Oh my goodness.
And anything under 5 is just junk right now. So I asked the guy, I said, "What's up?" And he goes, "The new car places, the new car companies aren't able to get stuff out very quickly. And so, like the Jeep store, they only had like 50 new Jeeps on their lot. They usually have hundreds."
Wow.
And he said all these places are going up and they're buying all the cheap cars at the auctions just to fill lot space, which means paying a little bit more for everything.
That's a no. Yeah, see, influx.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama. No joke.
Oh, that was the funniest commercial ever.
That was a good one.
Let's get over here.
Play that reel.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Behind the Beards. Here on Behind the Beards, we pull the curtain take a look behind the scenes, and reveal the things that you need to know about your ministers and your ministry leaders. I am Joshua Fowler, a preaching minister in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and my friend, my brother, my fellow soldier for the Lord is a youth minister. You like that?
Yeah.
In Longview, Texas.
That's right.
Finally settling in at home there. New house, new office, new digs. How's it going, man?
It's going really good. We are so excited to be here. You know what's really fun? Starting a ministry job on Daylight Savings Sunday. Right? the by far worst Sunday of the year for a lot of churches, because you start an hour earlier and people are a little bit crankier. But it's interesting. It coincides here with a bunch of spring breaks. So people are either getting back or going on spring break. So we had about a third of the size of people. So it was just kind of funny.
Yeah, our spring break is late. Like we can't even probably really go skiing on spring break because our spring break doesn't start until Easter.
Oh, wow.
Easter, we're always off on Good Friday. And then we have Easter Sunday, and then spring break begins for us. So, yeah, it's late, and I think the kids only have, like last year, I think they only had like 3 weeks after spring break before school was out because of how late Easter fell. It fell late in April, so kind of crazy. Makes for interesting. Schedule, I guess, if you will, of kind of rolling around. So,
yeah, it does. It's been really interesting. It's been a fun start. You know, whenever you move to a new state, it's always crazy how much like stuff you just have to do, like filling out paperwork, changing your licenses, car plates, all that kind of stuff. Just kind of like crazy, busy work is what it feels like. Just running around getting everything done. So. Just kind of nuts.
Yeah, the weird thing for us in Louisiana, everything is, they are not up on the latest technology. Like, so there are a lot of, you can't pay a lot of stuff online. Websites don't have a place for that. You can't enable stuff online. And so you have to go to the different places to get your water switched over, get your electricity switched over. And they're just now getting into like a lot of this auto pay and auto draft stuff on bills. So when we first moved in, man, we were driving 20 miles to Livingston to the courthouse to get this, then back over here to the Ward 2 water place. Then we had to go south to the Demco electric office to get that turned on. And we're brand new, so we don't know all of this, and we don't know where everything's at. And they're like, "Oh, just go to the courthouse." Like, where's the courthouse? 'Cause,
yeah, what's that?
like Fun stuff. Steve, we go skiing to the closest place we can find snow. Here it's either Gatlinburg is probably the closest place for us, which is a crazy busy mountain over Gatlinburg. But we've been a little hill up in Iowa. We've been up in Colorado. We've been to Ruidoso up in New Mexico. We love snow skiing and snowboarding. So
I guess the church here in Longview does a ski trip as well. So I was met by a really nice couple in the back of church on Sunday morning, and they it's driving me crazy. I gotta like turn my phone off during the podcast. But anyway,
thank you.
They run a ski trip. They're like, we do a ski trip every year with the youth group. We take care of everything. We just kind of need your help communicating it. And I was like, awesome. Like, sounds perfect. Let's do it. Like, so that's great.
No, and I'm going to say, you've got my phone number. So when that ski trip gets set up, I'm going to need you to give me a call and say, here's where we're going. Here's where we're taking. And I will say, good. Here's how many kids I can bring to tag along.
Right.
And we will go with you. Although it's probably not going to work because I seriously doubt our spring breaks are going to coincide with yours. So
you never know.
But I can still go, and my wife can still go. So
there you go.
That'll be perfect. We'll be your chaperones. How about that?
Perfect. I always need a chaperone.
You know, it's a pretty good segue too. We're talking today about when fun turns to chaos, right? You have those moments where you have an event, and there really is this fine balance. This is true in youth events and adult events, birthday parties. Anytime you get people together, you can so easily lose control.
Oh yeah, like in an instant.
Right? So easily lose control where you're here, everything's going, we're having a whole lot of fun, and then just like that, it turns to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this balance that you have to walk. There's this balance that you have to walk to keep things on the edge.
This is going really well today. Okay.
No. Anyway, there's this fine balance you have to walk between allowing kids to have fun, giving them the freedom to really explore and express and have a blast in that moment, yet keep it from just devolving into pain and injury, right?
Right.
And that's not easy. Sometimes you get to a point where it's like, okay, where's the panic button? Where's the emergency shutoff switch? How do I kill this in a way that doesn't just completely ruin the environment, the event, and everything, and kind of make a shift into something that's a little more controlled.
So one time at Central, the church I was formerly at, we were doing a lock-in. And, lock-in games get kind of crazy, right? Because as the later you go, the more tired you get and you don't know what to do. It just gets like, it gets crazier and crazier. So we had this idea, and I thought this game was going to be fun. And it was a lot of fun. Okay, don't get me wrong. So the teenagers, they loved it. Like, it was a lot of fun, but it was so gross. What we ended up doing was we ended up making, I got a big bowl of ice, and then I put a giant pan on this, and we're talking like a 6-foot pan, and sit it down on top of it. And then we got a bunch of ice cream, just vanilla ice cream, and put it right in the middle. Or no, we put it all in each corner because we had 4 groups. And then we played a little trivia game. If you got your question right, you got to put like a nice topping, or you could put a bad topping on somebody else's ice cream sundae. At the end of the rounds, everyone had to eat all of their sundae. So you could put something nice like chocolate or strawberry or something great on yours, or you could put like jalapeno juice or ketchup or mustard or something gross on somebody else's. And so it just like these Sundays where at start everyone was playing nice. everyone was like, oh, no, I'll just put, peanuts on mine. It was great. And then towards the end, everyone was being real nasty and mean, and then they had to eat it. The chaos happened when I said, all right, everyone has this amount of time to eat their sundae. First Sunday gone wins. And at the end of that, I had about 10 to 12 teenagers who were allowing that sundae to leave themselves. They were throwing up in a trash can because it was so gross. Because what I hadn't realized was that the ice didn't keep it quite cold enough. So they had all started kind of melting together at some point as well. So even if you had like a really nice sundae, you were still getting like pickle juice and all sorts. So it was a lot of fun. I would never do it again. It was, but it just gotten to the point where it was like just uber gross. So it was just kind of really funny. And now, like you think about it, like in COVID world, like thinking about those kind of games, like in a COVID world is just like, oh man, no way.
Yeah, there are so many things that we have done in the past that we would never do in today's world, right? Whether it's and I'm not thinking initially in our ministry, but I think of some of the games we played growing up.
Yeah.
Like tackle the man with a meatball, or where it's just
we grew up in different worlds, Josh.
Well, we did, and we didn't call it tackle the man with a meatball, but I'll choose not to say what we called it. It was all for itself football. Like one on everybody. You have the ball, you're trying to score, everybody is tackling you. So you have 11 or 12 people tackling you. And there is, like, I can't imagine putting my kids in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, you have the ball, everybody's coming after you, and we're going to tackle you and dogpile you until you cry mercy. Probably not going to fly in today's world.
Probably not.
I'm surprised they still play games like Kill Ball.
Oh, right.
Your kids play Kill Ball, where everybody sits in a circle and you spike a volleyball at them and see who you can smash.
As a young youth minister, I loved playing that game. As a youth minister who has to get waivers and things signed by parents, I'm like, can we use a softer ball? And why are you hitting that so hard?
It is. I watch them and it's like, man, that's like a pair of broken glasses just waiting to happen.
Oh, it is, or a broken nose, or a jammed or really broken finger from blocking it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's like I said, so much that goes in, right? Because you have this place, and you want people to really have this space where they can have that fun.
They use a volleyball for kill ball.
Yeah, that's right.
Not a bowling ball.
Not a bowling ball. So there are some games, some activities that dodgeball, we still play dodgeball, but you can tell by the way things are rolling there that you understand the aspect of the game and kind of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
If someone says, hey, we're going to play kill ball, that there's a line there that you're going to have to address at some point. The game is called kill ball. If you have a game where the rules involve tackling someone, you understand kind of where that line lies.
Mm-hmm.
When you play a game like Outpost, it is
right. We should probably explain what Outpost is.
We can explain what Outpost is. You can go ahead, explain Outpost.
So Outpost is this. I don't know where it came from, but Josh and I used to co-direct a camp in Kansas.
You don't know where it came from? It came from Joseph Marine.
Well, I don't know. Did he create it, or did he just invent it, or did he just find it? So that's what I meant.
Yeah, I got
Give credit where credit is due, and if no credit is due, then say you don't know. I'm sure that's not the right saying at all. Okay. So I'll address this right now. This blue cup, it is just a hydro flask. So you can just go to hydroflask.com and buy one. I have too many hydro flasks. And then to my mother-in-law, this background, yes, my wife designed this. It's actually the design that's on our Chacos that we made for our 9-year wedding anniversary. We made custom-made Chacos because we're those people. So, but yes, so this mug is nothing special. It's just a hydro flask. But I'm glad that you really like it. I really like hydro flasks. So Outpost it's almost like this mix of flag football / capture the flag / it starts with an S, Stratego. So what it is you have 2 teams, and I was even thinking you could play it with 3 teams would even be fun too. But everyone has a rank of what they are. So you have generals and all sorts of stuff. So basically you have a ranking of how many points each person is worth. You give everyone these flags like flag football, and it's on their waists, and you basically hide people, and you go and you try to grab the other team's flags. There's no really any set zones. It's not like capture a flag where there's a safe zone. You're always on. You can always get your flag pulled. And so then you have these kids who are running around. You have kids who are running around in the forest and in tall grass, all sorts of stuff like that. And you're just pulling flags. And once you pull someone's flag, then you escort them inside or to wherever the scorekeeper is. And they secretly write down the score. So the whole goal is that nobody really knows who's going to win towards the end. Your generals are obviously, like, if you have one general, they're worth like 150 points. So it's like a ton of points. You have to really work pretty hard to get a lot of points if you're going to win and beat that kind of a thing. So it's just kind of a big, it's kind of like that big into camp kind of game. And you're on a team and you want your team to win kind of a thing. We used to do a similar-ish kind of game, and I think most camps try to end with like one huge activity like that. Like, hey, this is our go anywhere in the camp kind of activity. Because when I grew up at Camp Yamhill, we used to do a flower bomb war, which was capture the flag, except for instead of tagging somebody and there being a line, we made these flower bombs, which was flour in a Kleenex with a little bit of tape on it, and you'd throw it, and if you hit somebody with it, then they're out and that kind of stuff. And so it was just kind of really fun. But again, like, you can get to a point where the aggression or the adrenaline is going too high, right?
Right. And so what you find in Outpost is you find these pockets of competitiveness that come out in people that you would never have dreamed existed.
Right. Yeah.
And like, as the night goes on and people get a little tired, the game gets a little closer, you turn into these wrestling matches in the field for who can get the flag first.
Right. Or these little like hunting parties. And they're like, send out your best champion.
Look, and was it an Outpost when Micah got clotheslined?
No, that was actually playing a midnight game of Gargoyles.
Gargoyles, okay. Gargoyles, that's another one that is.
And we played it at night.
No, so, you come in but everybody's running. There's all kinds of things. They're running through and around corners, and people are running in different directions, which is the problem. And because they're running from someone, they're not paying attention to what's in front of them. They're only paying attention to who's chasing them. And when people meet running full speed around a corner, bad things happen. So I think Outpost, we played it once. It turned into chaos. We gave it another shot, and then I think after that it was like, maybe Outpost is a game we need to table for a little while,
We did not play it. So we did play it after you left. And then I took it away again. I was like, nah, we're just not doing this. Like, it's not worth it. Luckily, I had Mr. Terry Kitson with me. So he was like, Aaron, if it's not what you want the spirit of the camp to be, then just don't play it. And I had some angry kids. But I was like, guys, it's just like, it literally becomes a whole night of pulling ticks and treating poison ivy. That's all it is.
Gargoyles is a game where you're like, we would take a flashlight apart and hide it in a building. People have to go find the pieces and put it together without being captured by the designated gargoyles who are there to protect the pieces. And the problem with that is you're playing in the dark.
In the dark.
And my Dylan, who was young at the time, he got completely obliterated by someone running through the hallways of the church building.
Mm-hmm.
Big old knot on his head at a lock-in. And so, yeah, it's look, I mean, telling these stories, like, I'm there and I'm like, dude, these were so fun until they weren't. And even then they were still kind of like, oh man, I hate shutting this down.
Well, and it's like, so I have a gargoyle story. Like, we were playing when I was like, this was like back when I was in youth group. Luckily, I've never had anything too severe happen while I've been a youth minister. But when I was in youth group, we had a girl. She jumped over a church pew to land in the pew, and she hit the book rack on her forehead, and had to leave and get 5 stitches in her forehead. You know,
I
and
never had
it's like
stitches. I never had
it's like
stitches
one
from
of those things where you go like, okay, this is a really fun activity. This will be really good. And then you have to think like, how will the most clumsiest teen, like for me, it was like, how will Rebecca Grace like get hurt doing this, right? Because we helped somebody move, and she was helped carrying a playground set, and somebody like stumbled and she dropped the playground like on her foot. You know, we went to Texas on a mission trip, and she wasn't paying attention, and she stepped on a fire ant's nest. You know, it was like we went.
She finds trouble.
We went to a youth rally in Nebraska, and she was in crutches, and she found ice and slipped, and broke one of her teeth. You know, so it was like, I mean, it was like, if there's a way Rebecca can get hurt, that's how we fix it.
Yeah. So. There is how do you recover, right? So we're here, everything's going. Now then all of a sudden you find yourself in this place where maybe you're at an event, and this is the only or the first event of the weekend, right? And you're here, the energy level is high, and you want to you're ready to set the stage, and then all of a sudden it's like we're on the verge of completely losing control. If you can recognize that things are on the verge of completely losing control, you can say, all right, game over, let's shift. But someone gets hurt, right? Something happens, something occurs, and now you have to reset for the week. So I don't know if you remember Soul Quest 2 years ago. Sunday night, we're playing Ultimate Frisbee. You weren't playing Ultimate Frisbee. I was
not.
Ultimate
I think I had a baby.
You did. There were a group of kids who were playing Ultimate Frisbee. 2 kids collide and shatter the orbital bone of one of the kids. Who ends up having to be rushed to the hospital in Lincoln or Omaha. I don't remember which. I think they may have gone to Omaha. Had to have emergency surgery to come in and reset everything. This is Sunday afternoon is registration. This is right after worship, the first worship of the week, and that occurs.
Ouch.
So sometimes you have stitches, sometimes you get a little knot, sometimes things just get out of hand. Sometimes
shadow the orbital bone.
Or sometimes, as Bryce says, I had a kid re-tear an ACL. Oh, that's brutal. Sometimes there's really serious things that come about, just freak accidents, not because you're of irresponsibility or anything, but just things happen. So how do you recover from something like that, especially if it's at the beginning of what you're setting out to do?
Yeah, like how do you find that mood back? How do you, but also be like respectful, like because you don't want to just be like, "Hey guys, I know this happened, but let's move past it." Yeah, that's a good question. Are you asking me? Is that what this is? I just put me on the spot.
I am putting you on the spot.
I think honestly, like, well, I want to go back. Just a little bit to what you're talking about, because you were talking about being on that verge and you can kind of sense when a game or a big game or something. Bryce also mentioned tall ball. Like you can, if you're the youth minister, if you're the volunteer, you have to remember that you're the stagecoach driver, right? That you're the one in charge. And so, like in Outpost, I would love to play Outpost. Not really, but in some moments, like I would really want to play Outpost. But then, who would be in charge? Who would be watching everything and making everything? And so, a lot of times, like Josh and I, we would not play tall ball. We would not play Outpost. We would not play these big games because there needs to be someone who's going to be in charge and someone who is kind of like monitoring the lifeblood. Because honestly, like if I'm playing Outpost and I see like tempers rising, it starts being more about competition and more about anger and more about these kind of things instead of about playing and having fun. I ring that bell and I'm like, oh, the game's over. It's crazy how time flies when you're having fun, right? We've only been playing 5 minutes. Yeah, weird, right? I always did that. I'm always the one to just kind of like pour the hose on the situation or ask those kids to come and talk with me and sit out for a minute, or say, hey, why don't you guys go get showered? You can just be done for the night and come back out and just watch, kind of a situation and de-escalate it. That's something that, like as a chaperone or as a youth minister, like sometimes people don't think about like, oh, well, that youth minister, he never plays games with the kids. Well, it's because somebody's got to be like in charge. And if I'm playing the game, I might miss things that are very important for me to see. It's good for me to be involved, and I am involved, and I'm cheering and I'm praising and I want to be encouraging. But also I have to be like a responsible adult in the scenario and in the situation. I think that's where a lot of young youth ministers can sometimes fail and find themselves in these tricky situations is because they are young and they are fit and they want to be out there and play hard with the kids. But then you end up missing things, or it's all about winning and not about like what you're actually trying to do with your teenagers, and bonding and building together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's not just because they're young and fit and want to show what they can do. Sometimes it's because they're old and not fit, but they want to show those kids that this old man can still whip them.
They still got it.
Yeah, that, there's something about old man strength that young weightlifters don't understand.
I'm hoping to get that one day. I'm still in like the middle-aged, no strength fat guy phase of my life.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Jonathan talks about begging lifeguards to play water polo with him. I don't understand what that's about because water polo is torture to me. I can't imagine treading water for that long.
I drowned.
Yeah, right.
Is there a shallow end?
But you want that as kids. You want that camaraderie from the people that that you respect, that have some ability to compete with you. But I have to, because I know my competitive nature. I have to remove myself from that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I know my flaw, and my flaw is I don't care who you are. If we're playing a game, I'm gonna beat you.
Mm.
So
unless it's ping pong with me.
Oh please. I beat you my fair share of times at ping pong. So
the first fight on Behind the Beards.
That's right. We're gonna throw down right here, and I'm gonna win. No. So I had to put myself like in the position of, no, I'm going to officiate this game, or I'm going to be the one that stands in the middle and prevents you. If you're getting way too competitive, I have the ability to completely change the game from you and stack the deck against you.
Mm-hmm.
Just to prove to you that this is not what we're here about. We're here about fun, learning, and growing and having a good time together. That it really is not about the winner of the game. There's always this objective that we're playing with, so.
I once played a game at a church camp, and I was the umpire, and I was getting heckled by one of the other players. And I was in this awkward position because I was the director. They were a counselor. I was a youth minister. He was one of the elders at my church. I was the umpire. He was a player on the team. And I didn't know what to do. I almost ejected him out of the game because I was like, would you stop? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is really annoying, and you're really frustrating me as the umpire as I'm trying to call a fair and a fun game, and you are being really ridiculous. And yes, I get super competitive as well. Josh and I are like cut from the same cloth when it comes to that, which is why it's really fun when we play ping pong against each other because we both play to win no matter what.
So I remember one summer, I thought it'd be funny. It was hot. It was one afternoon, and I had a pretty good sized cup of ice water that I dumped down Aaron's back.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
And he did not think that was as funny as I did in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that night I was helping someone clean up after one of our events, and I get a giant igloo cooler full of water just poured all over my head like a coach just won the national championship. And then I turn around to see Aaron Partlow handing me an empty igloo container saying, "Just letting you know, I don't get even, I get ahead."
That's right. I end it. Yeah.
And, I was like, oh my goodness, that was you did get me on that one.
I don't go over the top. I go so far over that you just don't want to play anymore.
Surprised there wasn't a tractor behind me with a bucket full of ice.
Yeah, right.
Or something.
That would have been next. Like when I woke up the next morning and I came out, you would have dumped a tractor of ice on me.
That's right. Oh, that's right. All right. So back to the question, right? How do you recover when things have gotten to that point?
So I think honestly, like I think it's really good to acknowledge it. I think one thing that you have to be in front of and you want to be there for is like I said, you can't ignore the situation. So if you start a week or something and something bad like that happens, or even yet something happens to a teen or a group on their way in, I think as a leader, if we're going to be honest, if we're going to be true about who we are as a people and what we are about, first off, we got to pray, right? We have to pray. And so, like, I think as a group, it's good to inform and to pray. That does not mean that everyone needs to know every single detail. There are some people who just dig and dig and dig for every single detail. And for me, that's almost too much and too far. And so you almost have to slow people down and say, listen, this is what you need to know. This is what I know. And this is what you need to know. And we're going to stop and we're going to pray for them. We're going to give it over to God's hand and we're going to continue to move forward. That's how I would kind of do it. And if it was a big group, I would do that in front of the entire group and we would move forward through there with updates and things like that. So.
No, I think that point of kind of recentering. No.
Just told me
no. I did say no, but I didn't mean no.
Okay.
I meant maybe I know. I don't know what I meant, but no came out. Sorry about that. So how about this? So
clip that for the Instagram.
Yeah.
No.
No. It is so important just to find that moment to recenter.
Yeah.
And like you said, to acknowledge the situation and just say, hey, you know what? And praying is the way that it kind of brings us back into this moment of recognizing kind of what's going on, what we're here for. That year at Soul Quest, I
knew you were going to talk about that. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, well, they just acknowledged that. Hang on, something started playing on my computer over here. It's like, whoa, what's that? You acknowledge that this was it, and it was a bad situation. And so they said, hey, throughout the week, we're going to take up a contribution, and we're gonna help his family with some travel expenses because his parents now have to come up here to be with him. We're going to try to buy his mom and dad a plane ticket, maybe help with this or help with that. And it didn't become the focus of the week, but it helped us understand the seriousness of what actually transpired. This is a big deal. As if a shattered orbital bone doesn't tell you it's a serious situation.
Right, no joke.
But you also know that there are still other things that have to transpire throughout the course of the day or the week or the event. Mm-hmm. Right? And so, hey, we can have fun. You also don't want it to take away from the other events that are going on. To have it be this kind of cloud that hangs over.
Or a distraction.
Right, because there's still some things that have to transpire. So you come in, you sit down, recognize, acknowledge it, pray about it, and then say, okay, how do we move forward from here? And then kind of set that path forward. The kid who got hurt is great. He was actually back at camp on Thursday. He came back in on Thursday with a carefully bandaged face, said hi to everybody, and then went home. So, but it was scary, and it was. Hey, think about the guilt of the kid who accidentally hurt him. You know. And so you have to recognize that there's all these emotions that come into play for many different people. The biggest thing is you have to recover. You have to recover. And it can become this great learning moment that says, okay, what do we do in the face of adversity? It's a very real moment that nobody wants to have. But when it comes, we can use it to teach and learn and grow from it, or we can try to ignore it, pretend it didn't happen, and move on and hope something doesn't happen again. And just like anything, I think it's important that we find those places to have those lessons where we can come in and say, okay, how can we do better as ministers? How can we do better as chaperones? How can we do better as planners? And, you know, what role did we have as participants, you know, in this? Sometimes it's just a freak accident. Sometimes, you know, we can recognize, no, my competitive nature really got the best of me, and I really wasn't doing what I should have been doing. And I should have recognized who I was chasing or who I was going up against. I should have recognized that I have 150 pounds on this person, and I didn't mean to squash them, but when I pounced on them, you know, things just happened. So
I know you're thinking about when we were playing Poor Man Sumo. And if you guys don't know, Poor Man Sumo was a game. I don't know if it was invented by Ben Cook, but it was introduced to me by a youth minister by the name of Ben Cook and Jeff Grow. And you would get inner tubes and you would tape them together. 3 giant inner tubes. We'd tape them together. You would create a duct tape harness, and then you would enter the sumo ring. And you would basically run at each other full speed and try to push the other person out. Josh and I brought this to Tallgrass, and it was a success. Like, I mean, honestly, like, people love it, and it's phenomenal. Great. And I plan to play it here at Pine Tree as well. Matter of fact, I can't wait to play it. I think these kids will absolutely love it. However, we had a 300-pound college wrestler guy who I won't be named. I try to not name people, but he put it on, and he let his wanting to win get the better of him, as there was like a $150 kid who put it on, and who was his opponent. This guy growled and took 5 steps at full speed and hit this kid, and Josh and I went as white as gold. What's terrible is that this kid's dad was there. Like, he had just come for something. I don't even remember, but Kyle's dad was there, and he hit Kyle, and Kyle just went all the way out. And luckily somebody was there to stop him, because there was a hill he would still be rolling today. But luckily somebody was there to kind of stop him. But he rolled 5 or 6 times, was super dizzy, was kind of terrified. Luckily he ducked inside of it, but I mean the guy just got rolled. And then the counselor is over there, and I'm like, dude, you just rolled a camper forever, and he's scarred for life at this moment.
Yeah, if you want to know about Poor Man Sumo, we go into Poor Man Sumo in depth in episode 15.
We do. That's right.
15. Yeah. Did you say Poor Man Sumo?
Did you say Poor Man Sumo?
It's about a lot of these games that we play, but we spend some time on Poor Man Sumo. So
yeah, we need to do another. We need to do another one. Matter of fact, that just kind of brought up that reminds me. This Sunday, I grinned really big because one of the parent chaperones who'd been teaching Bible class on Sunday mornings, he goes, "And Aaron, what kind of games do you like to play for youth groups?" And I did exactly that, and I went, "You guys have no idea that you guys just hired a master gamesmith."
Yes.
And
the coolest thing, like I said, the coolest thing about it is all your games are new.
Oh, that's right. All of them. All of them.
Ultimate Sombrero.
Oh,
The Questers
that'll be
Questing
fun.
Quest.
That'll be a good one.
Oh yeah, they're all new.
Free Willy.
Free Willy. Outpost.
Out. Kayak Jousting.
Oh, I forgot about Kayak Jousting.
Kayak Jousting was a good one.
That was a good one. The best part about Kayak Jousting is it's really hard to get hurt in Kayak Jousting. Everything floats. The kayak floats. The joust float. The
Pugil
headgear float. The pugil stick. That's right.
Can't wait to make those again. That was fun.
And so, it's hard to get hurt. Kayaks are soft-ish. I mean, you kind of just bounce off of them. Got a life jacket on.
Yeah, usually it's just a bruise on the shin.
And usually
like
people
that.
fall before they even get to the jousting part. So
that's even the better part.
they can't even
make it out there. So, all right, what's our behind the beards moment? I think we're kind of already leading into it.
I think so. And kind of what is it? I don't know. Ultimately, I think it is if you are around, help us know when things are kind of on the edge.
Right.
We know, but sometimes we need. I don't want to be the killjoy. I feel like I'm always the killjoy. I don't always want to be the one that comes in and says, "Hey, I know you guys are having a lot of fun, but we need to knock it off. We need to stop.
Right.
We need to quit. We need to do something different." Because I like having fun too. I also am not always great at saying, at putting things to a stop. I know I should, but it's like, let's give it 5 more minutes. It's not that bad yet. We're not quite there. Yeah. We're not quite there. We got 5 more minutes in this. I'm going to give them 5 more minutes. Sometimes I just need confirmation from someone else coming up and saying, maybe it's time to shift, which is just a simple way of saying we're on the verge of getting out of control here.
We're on the edge of glory.
Because the other thing is, right, as things happen, you get a little more sensitive to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I can think, well, am I overreacting? Am I just super sensitive because I'm responsible if something goes south, or is this really something that really needs to stop?
Right.
And someone else just come up and saying, dude, it's getting a little crazy. Think maybe we need to shift? I think you're right. And that is the confirmation I needed to say, all right, pull the plug, ring the bell, and let's make a move into whatever comes up next.
Right.
Because it's hard. It's hard for us to walk that balance. It's hard for us to stay right there in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do want our kids, we do want our people to just completely enjoy their time. And we don't want to pull them away from that moment, because you see the joy, even in the midst of the scrapes and cuts and bruises. You see how much fun and camaraderie is being built there.
Right.
And it's just a very, very difficult line to judge and to walk. So give a little support, give a little kind of nod in that direction, and kind of help us to make that decision. Also,
remember that the mood and the theme of the camp or the week or whatever it is more important than that activity.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And that's one thing that I always have to keep in mind, that yes, this activity is fun, but we have worship in an hour, and I need kids to cool down and relax and get to a place where they can actually worship Jesus tonight. That's more important than playing this game for another 30 minutes and things like that. And so remembering, this is what I always tell my staff. I say, trust the plan. I said, I have a plan. I have a program. Please trust my plan and my program. I've been doing this, for 10 plus years. So just trust me that I kind of know what I'm doing. It does not mean I'm arrogant. I am not trying to say I know everything. I'm just saying, trust the program and the plan. Help me do this. So,
No, and I like that. I think that's a really solid point you make there. Is just remember, the week is bigger than the moment. The ultimate goal of why we're here is bigger than this event, and so that's what it's all about, and that's what we get with even our counselors and things as well. Is like, hey, just remember, everything we do revolves around one purpose.
That's right.
And the only thing that matters is we're here to grow spiritually. Even when we're doing fun things, we're here to grow spiritually, and we're here to glorify God.
Absolutely. That's the reason we do it.
And all of that is bigger than the game.
All that. Hey, we want to thank you guys for being here today. We appreciate it. I'm excited for my first podcast in Texas. We want to remind you of Galatians 6:9. Remind you of Galatians 6:9 here. I was going to pull that up. This world is messy and life is messy, so allow Christ to use you to do something different, something good in his name. I'm Aaron, and this is Josh, and this is a blue hydro flask, and we will see you next week on Behind the Beards.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beard.